These days, when you search for something on Google, you'll usually see an AI overview at the top of the results page. That section includes a button at the bottom that says, Dive Deeper in AI Mode. When you click it, you'll notice a really nice multicolored gradient border animation. In this video, we're going to recreate that exact effect using only CSS. Welcome to Optimistic Web, where we explore the world of CSS and front-end development one step at a time. Let's begin with the HTML. We've got a bare-bones page with a page title and a regular button. These are simple HTML tags, so there's nothing fancy to explain here. So let's move on to the CSS. The style sheet I'm using is already set up with some basic rules for the page layout. Again, nothing special is going on. Next, let's add a class to the button so we can easily target it in our CSS. We could also use the element selector here, but using a class name is better since it won't mess with the specificity. Then, in the CSS, we set the button to have a width of 100% so it fills the available space, along with a few routine styles. I'm also resetting some default styles like the border, outline, text alignment, and cursor, just to keep things clean for the presentation. Now we'll use a pseudo-element to create the gradient. So the first step is defining the before pseudo-element, which will be absolutely positioned with the button. And we'll use a conic-gradient for the background. I've simply taken the gradient values from Google so we can closely match their style without spending time figuring out the exact color combinations. Basically, if you look at the setup, the first color is fully transparent and spans from 0 to 10 degrees. The second color is green, covering roughly 10 to 38.97 degrees. After that, the third, fourth, and fifth colors are fully opaque, followed by a color at 50% opacity. The last two colors are fully transparent again. This set of colors starts at 0 degrees and ends at 360 degrees, so together they form a complete circle. You can easily verify this by tweaking the opacity of the first and last colors. See how it creates a full 360-degree circle. And by the way, if you want a deeper understanding of gradients, feel free to check out my in-depth tutorial on creating amazing background patterns using CSS gradients. Coming back to the topic, right now the gradient is covering the entire page because we haven't defined its relationship with the button yet. The next step is the rotation. What we can do here is define a custom property using the @property rule. This custom property will have a syntax of angle and an initial value of 0 degrees. Then, we'll create an animation that updates this property from 0 to 565 degrees. After that, we'll apply the animation using the rotate gradient keyframes, which will take 8 seconds to complete one iteration, and the forwards keyword ensures that it stays at its final position once the animation finishes. Before moving further, let's fix the design first. We'll use another pseudo-element to handle the background color. An inset of 2 pixels is basically the same as setting top, bottom, left, and right to 2 pixels individually. The span element inside the button will make sure the text stays on top. Now, if we add overflow hidden, the gradient stays nicely contained within the button's boundaries. But at this point, it still doesn't look like a seamless border, because the gradient is the same size as the button itself. There are a few different ways to extend the gradient. Since we're trying to follow what Google has done on their site, let's do it the same way. The first step is to extend the height of the gradient. Then, we translate it vertically by -5 rem so the center of the gradient stays aligned within the button. After that, we use scale to extend it even further. These values can vary depending on the effect you're going for, and even small changes here can produce a different result. Now let's bring overflow back into play and see how it looks. We're getting closer, but there are still a few finishing touches left to implement. One is that the gradient should fade out once it reaches the end of the rotation animation. So let's add another keyframe that changes its opacity to 0. And we can attach this to the same animation rule by separating with a comma. At the same time, the after pseudo-element, which has a white background, should transition to a light bluish gray, Let's revisit how the animations work together. The rotate gradient animation starts immediately, runs for 8 seconds, and then holds its final value at 565 degrees. The fade-out animation waits for 4 seconds, then runs for 1 second, and also keeps its last frame. The background animation follows the same timing and waits for 4 seconds, runs for 1 second, and maintains its final state. We can see how everything behaves by simply turning off overflow hidden. Now, let's duplicate the button and make this animation run infinitely. To keep things simple, I'm using a separate CSS class for this version. In this case, the rotation needs to end at the same point where it starts. Since the earlier keyframes end at 565 degrees, we'll add a new set of keyframes and use 720 degrees as the final value. Then, we'll set the animation iteration count to infinite. The background color animation doesn't really make sense for this version, so we can just disable the animation on the after pseudo-element. Animation effects like this might look complex at first, but they're actually pretty straightforward to build with modern CSS. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you learned something new today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your questions or thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.